Thanks, Clive. Welcome to Wales Today. I'm Lucy Owen. The headlines. Thousands of people in Flintshire are having to rely on water distribution centres. Their supplies still cut off after a burst water main.
Emergency repairs have been completed this evening, but because the empty system now needs to be refilled, many people could be waiting for their supply to be returned until Sunday.
It comes as Wales faces its fourth heatwave of the summer, and while some are making the most of the sunshine, there's a warning that vulnerable people could struggle to cope.
I like the hot weather, as long as it's not too hot.
Closing the curtains and closing the windows, even if it's really hot, is the thing to do.
We may have to get used to this kind of weather because of climate change. We're already seeing hotter, drier summers here in Wales, and in the future, with heat waves, they're set to become more frequent and intense.
Also in the programme, a World War II veteran from Pembrokeshire is presented with a letter of thanks by the First Minister to mark 80 years since victory over Japan.
The horrors of the atomic bomb were still there. There were still dead bodies lying in the streets. It really was absolutely hideous.
Events have been held across Wales, including here in Newport, to remember the day World War II ended, bringing to a close 6 years of fighting.
Did you miss me?
And returning to rugby, Lewis Rees-Zammit joins the Bristol Bears. His new boss says he's aiming to be the best in the world. Good evening, Noswaith. Thousands of people in Flintshire are still without water after a water main burst. Emergency repairs have now been completed, but Dŵr Cymru Welsh Water says the system needs to be carefully refilled. It means many people may not see their supply restored until Sunday afternoon, with the added challenge of soaring temperatures over the next few days. Well, Matthew Richards is in Broughton for us this evening. Matthew.
Thanks very much, Lucy. Well, the burst is affecting a 20-mile-long stretch of Flintshire from Mostyn in the west to Mancott in the east, and that includes thousands of homes, businesses and 2 hospitals. This is the street where the leak occurred. Work is just finishing for the night now, this is ironically a street where the water supply hasn't been interrupted. Where it has been, though, bottled water delivery stations have been set up across the county to help everyone keep their cool. Here's the cause of the problem and the people trying to solve it. This drone footage shows the quiet close, which is at the centre of a major water leak affecting thousands of customers right across Flintshire. Dŵr Cymru Welsh Water says the disruption will continue for some until Sunday as the drained water is replaced.
Teams have been working 24/7 since this burst last week. The temporary repair we did initially was to keep customers in supply through the early part of this week. The permanent repair we're doing now should keep customers back in supply, and from Sunday onwards, that supply should start to return.
Dŵr Cymru Welsh Water has apologised to customers for the delay in getting supplies back on, but they say this has been a challenging repair. The burst main is 5 metres down and surrounded by electricity cables and other utility systems, and they say their staff's safety is their main priority. Bottled water stations across Flintshire are keeping people topped up, but some have seen long queues. Here in Mould, people were hoping to be reconnected soon.
Just been coming here and getting the water, trying our best.
I know it went off and then it came back on again, so we had that little bit of in-between break where we had the water, but now, yeah, we'll have to come and get more, won't we, here?
I live on my own, but then you still need water, toilet. I'm using my water, but...
The most vulnerable people affected are having supplies delivered by Welsh Water. Ricky's been taking bottles to disabled and elderly people on behalf of a local charity.
We bought 1,200 bottles and we've still got some left, and we're just running around anytime somebody messages us, chucking them straight on the list and driving straight to them and getting it to them as quick as possible, basically.
Public Health Wales has urged people to stay hydrated and clean even if water supplies are low.
People may well feel that if they're not taking on enough hydration, that they might start getting headaches, they might start feeling a little bit dizzy. So it is really important that if anybody starts experiencing those kind of type of symptoms, that they do make sure that they are drinking plenty and they're drinking often.
Some are built for long periods without water, but for the rest of the residents at this animal park, it's bottled water all round. Like many businesses, it's been forced to close today due to lack of water in the toilet and washing areas.
We drink water, but we have other sources we can drink. Fizzy drinks, whereas the animals, they heavily rely on water. So we're relying on, we've got really great local community that have delivered us water. We went to a water site yesterday and they told us that we can't have it because it's just for families, which we understand, but obviously the animals, they need the water. We have lots of lactating mums around the park that need to stay hydrated for their babies.
Even football matches have been called off in Flintshire this weekend. Their hope is that by Sunday all supplies will be back. Yeah, those two JD Cymru Premier matches which have been postponed are Connors Quay Nomads versus Bala tonight and Flint Town United versus Haverfordwest County. That's tomorrow. They'll be rearranged. Now, anyone who has been affected by the lack of water supply in Flintshire over the last few days is entitled to compensation, and that's £30 for every 12 hours for residential properties and £75 per 12-hour period for commercial properties. The main message with the heat rising and people still without water supplies is keep an eye on perhaps vulnerable and elderly neighbours and make sure that everyone is trying to stay hydrated. Lucy.
Good advice. Matthew Richards in Broughton, thank you very much. Well, with temperatures soaring again today, parts of Wales could see their fourth heat wave of the summer. Natural Resources Wales have declared drought conditions in southeast Wales following the driest 6-month period in decades. But Dŵr Cymru say there are no plans to restrict the supply of water. Now, while some people will enjoy making the most of the sunshine, there is a warning that vulnerable people could struggle to cope. Stephen Fairclough reports.
We've got some of these small ones because the heat's been awful, hasn't it? Here we are.
At this community centre in Caldicot, the message about keeping cool has been a priority this summer. They've been handing out donated electric handheld and tabletop fans to try and battle the hot weather.
I like the hot weather, as long as it's not too hot.
Closing the curtains and closing the windows, even if it's really hot, is the thing to do.
Everything we do is about caring and it is about community and communities coming together. So the hot weather is fantastic, but it's not fantastic for everyone. For some people, it's a real problem, so to be aware of that.
A heatwave occurs in Wales when there are 3 consecutive days when the temperature exceeds 25 Celsius. Parts of Wales could see their 4th heatwave this summer, this coming weekend. Natural Resources Wales says after the driest 6-month period since 1976, parts of South East Wales have crossed the threshold for drought conditions. Although Dŵr Cymru Welsh Water say there are no plans to restrict supplies to households, NRW say they are stepping up their actions to limit the damage to the environment.
We're monitoring those river levels really closely. We're looking at abstractors and seeing how much water is being taken from our rivers, making sure they're really sticking to their limits. And obviously looking at the any incidents that we see, any reports of fish in distress, any pollution. Because with pollution, because there's less water, you're likely to see more impact.
Beaches and beauty spots are expected to be busy this weekend as people try to make the most of the sunshine. And with many events being held across Wales, there are concerns about the consequences of not taking care in the heat.
We get people coming to us, they've got headaches because they've not been drinking enough water. Obviously, we've got our alcohol related as well, and people think because they're drinking alcohol, they're hydrating, and that's not the case. Alcohol dehydrates you as well. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke, sunburn, it's a bit of everything.
Cup of tea or squash?
Oh. For residents of care homes, it's hard to escape the heat. Here in Abertillery, in recent years, they've installed air conditioning to the common areas and ensure residents and staff take account of the weather.
We do monitor our residents' fluid intake, especially our most at-risk residents. We set fluid targets for each resident, and then we encourage sort of wearing hats, sunglasses and sort of your sun cream and things like that.
We keep having these heat waves that are coming. When you hear that there's one coming, what goes through your mind?
Oh, no, not another one. But just better than having rain.
Oh, use that day for cover. Get plenty of drinks in and try and keep in the shade.
Whilst many of us may enjoy the sunshine and the warmth, we may increasingly have to start considering how we stay cool in the summer, the same way we consider how we stay warm in the winter. Stephen Fairclough, BBC Wales Today, the Vale of Glamorgan.
Well, our weather presenter Sabrina joins us now. You'll have a full weather forecast for us a little later in the programme, I know. But just tell us, how unusual is the heat we've been experiencing this summer, and how much is it related to climate change?
That's a great question, Lucy. Well, it's summer and of course we do expect hot spells, but climate change is definitely playing its part. We're already noticing hotter, drier summers here in Wales. And in the future, when it comes to climate change, we're expecting more frequent, intense heat waves. So there will be more impacts in terms of water shortages. We'll be a bit more worried when it comes to droughts and wildfires. In terms of how unusual the heat is at the moment that we're seeing, well, we haven't actually set any significant temperature records so far this summer. But we did get to 33 degrees in a few spots earlier this week, which for August in Wales is pretty unusual. That's only happened over 5 August periods in the last 100 years or so. And we don't always get it right, of course. I know some of our viewers looked at the forecast on Wednesday. It was cloudier than expected in some spots, so temperatures weren't quite as high. So heat waves aren't always easy to forecast because we're trying to meet a certain temperature threshold.
So are we likely then to see more summers like this with numerous heat waves in the future, do you think?
Yes, that's something that we expect in the future when it comes to climate change. And I think that more people are going to have to adapt in terms of daily routines when it comes to more extreme heat, whether that be the time of day that we take the dog for a walk, or if you're an outdoor worker, maybe you'll need to change the hours that you work outdoors to cope with some of that heat. And then maybe the way we holiday in the future would be more outside of the summer holidays to be able to enjoy more comfortable heat when we head abroad.
OK, well, Sabrina, we'll see you again shortly for that forecast. For now, thank you so much for that. A woman has appeared before Mould magistrates charged with conspiracy to supply Class A and B drugs, assisting an offender and perverting the course of justice. 52-year-old Sarah Gray of Gronant was charged with the offences as part of an ongoing investigation into child sexual exploitation and trafficking, which has also seen 4 Denbighshire men charged with offences including rape, sexual assault and the supply of illegal drugs. She's due to appear before Mould Crown Court next month. Coney Beach Pleasure Park in Porthcawl has reopened following an incident on a ride that left people injured. The ride derailed on Wednesday night with 13 children and 1 adult receiving minor injuries. The pleasure park has apologised and said the incident happened on a third-party ride not owned by the park. The Health and Safety Executive say it's investigating. And the RNLI have warned that young people are taking unnecessary risks by jumping from height into shallow waters at a pier in the Vale of Glamorgan. South Wales Police says it's attended isolated reports of so-called tombstoning at Penarth Pier. Officers are carrying out patrols around the coast to deter such activity. You're watching Wales Today. Still to come in the programme, Lewis Rees-Zammit joins the Bristol Bears as he returns to rugby union from the NFL. The coach says he has big dreams.
And today, those temperatures have been back on the rise. Many parts of Wales experiencing heatwave conditions this weekend. How long will that heat last? Join me later for the full forecast.
Throughout this week, we've been marking 80 years since victory over Japan Day. VJ Day is marked each year on the 15th of August, the date in 1945 when Japan surrendered to the Allied forces and World War II ended. Events have been held across the country today to mark the anniversary, including in Newport tonight, where a special concert in the city's market is taking place. And we can join our reporter Eleanor Rice, who's there for us now. Ellie.
Lucy, just as you said, all week, all over the country, events have taken place to mark VJ Day, victory over Japan, the end of the Second World War after 6 years of conflict, including in communities like Tonopandi today, where members of the public stood alongside veterans and dignitaries to mark a 2-minute silence at midday, as well as musical tributes from a male voice choir. Well, I'm in Newport Market, as you say, where we're being treated to similar delights with Newport Male Voice Choir. More on that shortly, but first, let me bring you the story of a 99-year-old veteran from Pembrokeshire who's been given a letter of thanks this week by the First Minister. Duncan Hilling was one of the first British troops to witness the aftermath of atomic bombs on Japan in 1945. He describes the devastation he saw as hideous. Elin Morgan says the letter recognises the sacrifice, contribution and service that he made. Well, Duncan Hilling has been speaking to my colleague, Matt Merry.
Hello, you must be Duncan.
80 years after fighting for his country, Duncan Hilling's efforts are still recognised and remembered. The First Minister visited his home in Saundersfoot to meet the war veteran and present him with a letter of thanks. Duncan served with the Royal Welsh Fusiliers in India, Burma, and his regiment were the first to visit Hiroshima and Nagasaki after the nuclear bombs had been dropped on the Japanese cities.
The horrors of the atomic bomb were still there. There were still people, blind people being led around. There were still dead bodies lying in the street. It really was absolutely hideous.
The explosion of the bomb became a ball of fire 1,800 feet across, with a temperature at its center of 100 million degrees.
The first atomic bomb was dropped at 8:15 in the morning on the 6th of August 1945 by the American B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay. More than 60,000 people were killed instantly in Hiroshima, but the final death toll is believed to be around 140,000. But Japan did not surrender. 3 days later, the Americans dropped another atomic bomb on the southern city of Nagasaki, killing an estimated 74,000 people.
In Japan, about 90% of the houses that time were wooden. And of course, they had all burned, so there was total desolation through the city. But the worst thing for me was the number of people who were blind, who walk along the street and there'd be somebody holding their hand, taking them along. We stopped to talk to some of them, and they were lovely and friendly and chatted to us. We asked them what they remembered of the bomb, and they said they didn't remember anything, just an horrific flash.
But seeing that, it must have taken its toll emotionally.
To me, it was horrible. You know, the newspapers described an atomic bomb. It doesn't describe the people or what they look like. There's just a dazed glare, no sight at all. So let's hope to goodness that never happens again.
It's the only time nuclear weapons have ever been used in warfare. The nuclear radiation released by the bombs caused thousands more people to die. Duncan lost several members of his regiment years later.
And nobody ever mentioned the fact that radiation was a problem. And the 3 boys who were with me at the time, who went to visit this area and handle these things, they all died of cancer in the 30s and 40s.
The bombings brought an end to the war, with Japan surrendering on the 14th of August 1945.
The excitement, the shouting, and we sat down and sang Welsh hymns.
But the end of the war did not mean the end of Duncan's military service. From Japan, he was drafted to Malaya.
It's an eerie feeling. You're travelling through the jungle and you can't look behind you. You just feel that any time you can get a bullet in your back. Fortunately, we didn't.
It is important that we remind the children of today of the cost of war and why it is important to listen to witnesses like Duncan so that we try and avoid it at all costs.
Today, we remember the sacrifices made by people like Duncan, who will never forget his time in Japan.
Matt Murray reporting there, and our thanks to Duncan Hilling for sharing his story with us. Well, as I said, I'm at Newport Market tonight at their VJ Day commemorations, and I'm joined by Emma Corton from Newport Council. Emma, thank you for joining us on Wales Today.
Thank you for coming to Newport.
What inspired you to put on this celebration this evening?
Of course, so it's really important that we remember the legacy. We remember those from our city that we lost in World War II, and of course we remember the many, many thousands of family members and loved ones whose brothers, husbands, cousins never returned home. So that's so important. So this is a perfect tribute.
And we're being serenaded by a beautiful rendition of You'll Never Walk Alone by Newport Male Voice Choir to demonstrate local talent must feel really special as well.
Absolutely. Newport is completely brimming with local talent, be that male choirs, be that bands, solo artists, performers, whatever. So yeah, we are in for a treat tonight with the male choir and Boise Bryn as well.
And it's a good turnout. It's a very warm day in Newport today. The turnout, you must be pleased with the turnout.
Absolutely. People in Newport always come out to support live music, so it's brilliant. Yeah, it's wonderful. Although, yes, it is a little warm today.
Brilliant. Emma, enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks again for your company on Wales Day this evening. Lucy, back to you.
Very special evening there. Eleanor Rice, thank you very much. And they are in fine voice, aren't they? Let's get your sports news now. George is here and a familiar face returns to rugby, George.
Hello, Lucy. Yes, that is right. After 18 months out of the game, Wales wing Lewis Rhys-Sammet has come back to rugby union, signing a contract with English Premiership side Bristol Bears. Rhys-Sammet had left the sport to pursue a career in American football, but with his return, he opens the door to adding to his 32 Wales caps under new head coach Steve Tandy.
Lewis Rhys-Sammet for the try, for the gift, for the dream start in the second half for Wales, and listen to the place now.
The man known as Rhys Lightning doing what he did best for Wales, using his infamous pace to devastating effect. But his star performances at the Principality Stadium looked to be over when in January last year it was announced he was stepping away from rugby to pursue a career in American football.
He said he's 22, he's always dreamed of potentially playing in the NFL. He's always been a huge fan of it, and he feels that if he doesn't take that opportunity now, then it might not happen for him in the future.
What followed was a whirlwind 18 months in the NFL. Rhys-Sammet initially signing for the Kansas City Chiefs before joining the Jacksonville Jaguars as part of their practice squad.
Did you miss me?
Now, though, he returns to familiar ground, the former Gloucester player signing on with West Country rivals Bristol.
Hi Bristol Bears fans, Lewis Rhys-Sammet here. Just got done signing, can't wait to get started, see you all at Ashton.
Just before he left to go to America, he was probably one of the world leading wingers. He was a name. He was a world-class player. So we've managed to reel one in. There may be a few sort of, rugby related or interested Welsh fans who might think it's not too far to come across the bridge to watch Bristol as a second team.
Rhys-Sammet himself says he has no desire to let those world-class standards slip. Quoted on the Bears website, the 24-year-old says he wants to get fans out of their seats and create exciting moments, and that he's excited to return to rugby at a club that demands those values. Excitement too for Wales fans, with new head coach Steve Tandy already saying Rhys-Sammet could be in contention for a return to the national side as soon as this autumn's internationals.
I know we've got a new coach who, has brought some new ideas in, and hopefully we'll see Wales play a bit more of an expansive game and get the ball out to players like, Zamet on the wing. And that's what we're good for. That's what we're known for, is a bit of flair and the running game. So we need to get that back.
Rhys-Sammet was part of the Wales side who last won the Six Nations in 2021. How fans and Tandy would love his return to spark success for Wales once again. On to football now, and Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson says the club had to break their own transfer record to get real championship quality in Nathan Broadhead. The Wales forward joined from Ipswich on a 4-year deal, which could eventually be worth £10 million. The 27-year-old is Wrexham's 9th signing since they were promoted from League One last season. Elsewhere, Swansea are closing in on the permanent signing of Nottingham Forest midfielder Marko Stamenic. The New Zealander joined Forest from Serbian side Red Star Belgrade last summer, but spent all of last season on loan at Greek side Olympiakos. The 23-year-old is due to undergo a medical before completing a switch to the Swans. Well, Swansea, Wrexham, Cardiff and Newport are all in league action tomorrow afternoon. Wrexham have an early kick-off against West Brom, their first home game in the second tier of English football for more than 40 years. Swansea are also at home. They take on Sheffield United. In League One, Cardiff welcome Rotherham to the Cardiff City Stadium, while in League Two, Newport County travel to Grimsby. And that is your sport. Sabrina is here now with the weather, and it's going to be another hot weekend for us. Sabrina.
Hi, George. Yes, it certainly is. Many areas will experience heatwave conditions this weekend. Temperatures today have already been on the rise. The hot spot looks to be in Monmouthshire, peaking at 29 degrees. It has been a bit fresher for some coastal spots, but even here, temperatures rising over the weekend. And if you do notice any hazy skies at times or quite vibrant sunrises and sunsets, that could be down to some of the smoke coming up from the wildfires in Portugal or from Canada. So that's one thing to look out for. So here's the heatwave anomaly chart. Then you can see these red shades showing how temperatures are higher than how we'd expect at this time of year. At the moment, signs, but by the time we get to the middle part of next week, that's when temperatures back down closer to average. As for this evening then, lots of late sunshine in store. There's some patchy fair weather cloud in places. The wind's typically coming in from a northeasterly direction. Overnight, that's when some cloud will start to spread in. It's mainly going to be for some eastern areas of the country where we get some light winds. Some patchy mist and fog is also possible. Overnight lows down to around 11 to 15 Celsius. Always mildest for coastal spots. As for tomorrow then, we're looking at a fine looking day. Once any of that low cloud mist and fog clears, plenty of sunshine across the country. Some patchy fair weather cloud is also possible. So those winds typically light to moderate in strength. The breeziest conditions found along the south coast. And you can see by those temperatures too, it's going to be a very warm, if not hot day. The winds for coastal areas coming in from the land, that's why they're going to be higher over the weekend rather than the breeze coming in from the sea. So yes, up to about 28 Celsius locally. As for Sunday then, high pressure still on the scene, and that's drawing in air from the near continent. So a continuation of fine, hot, settled conditions. Sunday, the slightly less hot day of the weekend, but even then there's not really much of a contrast to Saturday. Lots of dry, sunny conditions expected. The breeze coming in from typically the east with highs of around 24 to 26 Celsius. Again, the winds typically light to moderate in strength, and it's always going to be along parts of the south coast where again we could see some quite gusty conditions at times, but I think the windiest conditions this weekend will be found to the south of us. Looking further out then on Monday, whilst most areas should still achieve those heat wave conditions, which for most of us is 25 or 26 Celsius in parts of the southeast, I think later on the day there is the chance for some heat waves, so that's one thing to watch. By the time we get to Tuesday, there's also the chance for some more cloud and showers. So I think as we head towards the middle part of next week, that's when you'll start to notice a change. And those temperatures back down closer to average Wednesday onwards. So for more of us, back down to the low 20s. So for most of you, that will be more comfortable at that stage. That's your latest, Lucy.
Sabrina, thank you so much. And that is Wales Today. I'll be back with the latest for you after the BBC 10 o'clock news. But for now, from all of us on the programme, thanks so much for your company. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you a little bit later. Hwyl fawr i chi.